everybody. Welcome to the Climate Action Plan Committee meeting of April 8th, 2024. I will say that Michael Horan will be joining us shortly, maybe in about 25 minutes or so, and I'm not sure if he's coming in person or coming remotely. And I know that Laura can't be here tonight because she is traveling. So, but I think tonight is more of an informational exchange with our special guest, Bill Roth. So I guess I would ask, so Rachel has kindly volunteered to take some minutes until such time as Michael Horan joins us. You can hear me okay. All right, so Rachel, if you, actually, somebody want to make a motion to open the meeting?
I motion to open the meeting at 7:05.
Okay, any seconds?
I second.
Thank you, Aisha. And obviously we don't have a quorum, but again, I think tonight is an informational meeting and sort of an update. We're not going to be taking any, we'll see when Michael comes about taking votes or not, but at this point it's an informational meeting. So I am very happy that Bill Roth was able to join us this evening. I appreciate your giving us your time. Bill, as you know, we have been meeting with town officials and trying to touch base also with other town committees, which is something we really still have a lot of work to do on that nature, of that nature. And you know, not everybody in our committee is a town meeting member, and even if they are, may not have a good grasp of what the town planner does and what the planning board does. So I guess I would love it if you could introduce yourself, tell us what the town planner does, like sort of like what your mission is, what your job description is, and also tell us about the planning board and what their jurisdiction is as well.
Okay, Molly, thank you. Nice to see everyone. I'm Bill Roth. I am the town planner for the town of Stoughton. I've been with Stoughton literally almost exactly a year. March was my 1 year anniversary.
Congratulations.
And I've worked in southeastern Mass for about 24 years in different communities, Fairhaven, Fall River, and Taunton, and now in Stoughton. The planner job encompasses a lot of different things. One is we provide staff to the planning board. Under state law, planning board regulates land use development, whether it be subdivisions, dividing property, multifamily development, commercial, industrial development. In the town of Stoughton, you know, we have subdivision control regulations that deal with land divisions. So that your typical subdivisions you can see. We also have our zoning, we enforce and implement the zoning bylaw also, which sets out the rules and regulations for what uses can go where, what zones. We have a zoning map, those sorts of things. Some things are permitted as of right. Some things are permitted via special permit, which means they're not as of right. There's certain negotiations and conditions put on different uses. A lot of what Stoughton Planning Board does is a lot of special permits and site plan review. So that's commercial, industrial, and multifamily development. We really don't get a lot of land divisions and subdivisions. There's not a lot of vacant available subdividable land for single family. We do have some, but a lot of that was done in the previous 4 or 5 decades. So
Can I stop you there? Is the planning board what I think of as like a zoning board or the zoning board of appeals, or is that different?
Zoning board of appeals has much more narrower focus. The zoning board of appeals looks at predominantly variances to the code. If you need to you need to do a development and you're gonna, and you want to build a house or a deck and, oh, you're, closer to the side setback lines. So a vast majority of the zoning board of appeals is variances to the code, setbacks and those sorts of things.
And what's the difference between a
The zoning-
variant, and I know this, but I don't, but I think it's better to, I don't know it really well. So what's the difference between a variance and a special permit?
A variance, is typically, a variance is a deviation to the development standards, like a numerical standard. The setback is 20 feet and you want to build a deck and you want to be, 15 feet from the
Okay.
rear property line. A special permit is typically, the zoning board of appeals also does special permits. The zoning bylaw for certain uses, like case in point, if you want to do a drive-through for a fast food restaurant, you need a special permit from the zoning board of appeals. Then you come to the planning board for site plan review for the site.
Okay. So,
But in the code, all other drive-throughs, rather ironic, all other drive-throughs are special permits with the planning board. So like a bank or those sorts of things.
Hi, James.
Hi, Molly.
Are with the planning board. The zoning bylaw determines the special permit granting authority. So the zoning board of appeals predominantly deals with variances, and variances to the code. We do not give variances to use also. So you can't say, oh, well, it's a single family zone and I want to put a apartment complex. Can I get a variance to do that? No, that's a variance to use and that's prohibited.
okay. I'm gonna interrupt just for like a procedural thing, which I meant to do at the beginning. So since Michael's gonna be late tonight, I actually wanted for us to review the minutes after he got here, which is actually item number 2 on our agenda, and we're on item number 3. So could I have a motion to take agenda items number 2 and number 3 out of order so we continue to talk with Bill Roth, and then after Michael arrives, we can review the minutes?
So made.
Okay.
Okay, anybody seconded that? All right, thank you, Rachel. All in favor of just taking agenda items 2 and 3 out of order and proceeding with item 3 before item 2? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Thank you, everybody. All right, just try to be strict to procedure. All right, so we're getting a little bit of a overview of the planning board and what the town planner does, and it sounds like it's very much zoning and development related. So now I'm going to ask you another question. So what's the redevelopment authority? I mean, what is their scope of what they do?
The redevelopment authority is a quasi. I didn't realize you were having me on for Civics 101 today.
Sorry, it's a little bit of a surprise.
No problem. The redevelopment authority is a quasi-governmental agency. It's separate from the town. The town is a government agency. The school districts are usually government agencies also, with their own sets of board. The redevelopment authority is set up through state law, and if adopted by certain towns or cities, they are established, and I don't know the Mass General Law. I should. I mean, when I was in Taunton, my role as the executive director of economic and community development, I was also the executive director of the redevelopment authority. It wasn't very active. So in Stoughton, it is an independent elected body. Just like the school board is an independent elected body and the select board is an independent elected body. The difference is they are not part of the town of Stoughton's budget. So they don't, like the school is part of Stoughton's budget. The redevelopment authority is independent. They could bond, they can take property, they can do all sorts of things. Under state law, and they, they look at, and they can buy and sell property also, as an agency, to try to look at advancing, economic development. One of the tools that they can use is what they call an urban renewal plan, which is a plan that is very prescriptive by the state. It goes, you have to do A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And you have to identify an area, you have to identify the need for renewal. There's a whole mess of thresholds. The redevelopment authority is in the final stages of an urban renewal plan for the downtown. And I don't know when they will be bringing it forward to the select board. They've already gone to the planning board. The planning board's deemed it's in substantial compliance. This will allow them the opportunity to, and they've defined an area, and they've defined key projects and properties that, should be redeveloped. And if not for, and I think it says in the state law for redevelopment authorities, if not for, some intervention in government action, nothing has happened with those properties. And so that's what they can look at doing. But redevelopment authorities, I know like the one in Fall River, they partnered with the city of Fall River. Fall River had some property, was turned over to the redevelopment authority up by the old airport, and now that's the Fall River Industrial Park. Years ago it was an old airport. That's where the big Amazon facility is. They got a new interchange. We used to be exit 8.5, whatever. So I know our redevelopment authority owns the closed landfill. And they lease it a portion of that property out for a transfer facility. So that's kind of what a redevelopment authority can do. They can partner with the town also, but it's typically a 5-member board. 4 are elected they're elected, and then 1 is appointed by the governor.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know that. So I think you've passed the civics quiz. You can fly with flying colors. I appreciate that. So, and then my understanding, and whether it's you doing it or the planning board doing it or whatever, like there's a master plan for the town, right? And every few years there's a new master plan. Does that fall within the planning department, or is it something different?
The master plan is usually headed up with the planning department, and it's part of the planning board's function.
Okay.
Is to, I provide staff and support to the planning board. I review all the land divisions and write the recommendations, technical review memos. What, does it comply with the code? Does it not? What it needs to do? I do that for special permits, and I do that for site plan reviews as well. Our development review process includes just about everybody in development services. Ms. JC, who's on there, he's also part of it. If there's wetlands involved, he reviews it.
All right.
Police, fire, we coordinate all of the town departments for review for any whether it be a land division, a subdivision, or a special permit, or a site plan review, to make sure that they comply with the code. Fire, police, engineering, water, sewer, stormwater management. We encompass and look at administering all of it. Various departments administer their regulations, like JC and the Concom administer the conservation regulations. So, if it's a property that has conservation, they usually start with conservation, and once they've got their hearing, they usually then submit for planning board, so it kind of dovetails. And then once conservation, it has determined, the wetland resource and those sorts of things, and seen the development, then we finish it out to make sure that it complies with the zoning bylaw. And then, all the other departments, whether they have water, sewer, you name it. So the planning board is predominantly development review. The master plan,
All right.
state law does not require, a lot of states in the United States require that master plans are required, and then that the zoning bylaw has to be in compliance and implement, the master plan. Massachusetts is one of the outliers in the United States that does not require this. Master plans are not required by state law. They are enabled by state law. State law enables towns and communities to do master plans. A master plan is usually a 20-year vision document that lists, that analyzes everything from, economic development, open space, historic preservation. There is the state law has the various sections that a master plan has to comply with.
Okay.
And then our master plan was done in two phases. There was so it's a two-phase document, and it's on our website. And it's recommended that about every 10 years that it be reviewed and updated. It's one of the things that I call, it's a living document. And so, the landscape of our world 10 years ago is dramatically different than it is today. The landscape of 2018 and 19 is dramatically different since 2020 and 2021 and everything that's occurred. And, looking at uses and land uses and trends and things, like the way like we're doing now, remote, in-person and remote and hybrid meetings, the working things. So we are approaching the 10-year mark. And so over the next couple years, the planning board and my office and development services, we will be looking at making recommendations to look at doing an update of the master plan. If you wait till the 20 years has passed, you've really kind of lost out. And so so that's something that we look at. And then, a lot of the things, and so maybe something that's more pertinent to you is things that, we're not kind of on the forefront or looked at in master plans were things such as resiliency, climate change, those sorts of things. I don't really want to call it climate change. I think they really talk about resiliency. I think that's one of the key terms that's really used. And a lot of master plans, include some of those elements now. Green infrastructure, resiliency, and those types of things that, 10, 15 years ago, that wasn't the case. It's not a required element, but I see it in a lot of master plans, the newer master plans, and that's just it's a trend of how our world is, So that is pretty much kind of the master plan in a nutshell.
Okay, well that's really helpful, and I think that's where that's what kind of intersects with what our mission is and what we're interested in. And I do want to ask you, so as part of the master plan revisiting and updating process and this year and next year, are there community engagement events where you sort of publicize?
Well, we haven't even started that.
Okay.
I haven't even started. We're going to have to seek funding from town meeting to do that. To fund a master plan from start to finish, a full-blown master plan, they're about $125,000, and they take about 18 months. They are not cheap, and they are very labor intensive, and it's an extreme amount of community involvement.
Okay,
Master plans, it's not like I hire a consultant or I sit down and I just like start typing at my computer and the next thing, no, a master plan is, it's really, it's working with a consultant and, it looks at everything from land use, economic development, open space and recreation, resiliency. Resiliency will probably be an element. If I knew I was going to have the Civics 101 quiz, I might have. I would have. And there's several other elements.
Sure.
You can go online and on our website and look at the index.
Okay.
And it's pretty prescriptive.
okay.
That those do.
Okay.
So.
Before I ask another question, does anybody else have questions about the planning department and the master plan?
Yes, I do. Sorry, Rachel, let me go first. Thank you. Thanks, Bill. Thanks for the history. Thanks for breaking it down to our level of understanding. So, from my view, from where I view things, I'm an environmental health and safety person, and that's my field. So recently, we've been having some things that were not consistent with our geographical location. For instance, the 4.8 magnitude earthquake that we just saw in the Northeast region, the flooding that is becoming a common occurrence. You already mentioned like the whole solar issues, and then the heat wave that we've experienced. What exactly are we doing to factor those into the master plan of Stoughton? I'm a resident of Stoughton. I have very big stake here. My family is here, and I'm just trying to understand from your point of view
What are we doing with it, with the master plan?
What are your position towards ensuring that you have things like that to accommodate these that I just mentioned in your master plan?
Well, some of those actually, some of it is, the master plan is I call it, it's a 10,000 view document. It's a document from 10,000 feet that looks down and looks globally. And it provides, general goals and general recommendations and some specific things. There are other things, and in talking with, what you're talking with is more hazards. And the town, and I know Molly knows this, is that we're in a coalition with a regional hazards mitigation plan, which is separate. It's a document that that MEMA, the Mass and MEMA, there's MEMA and then FEMA is the federal, and it gets MEMA and FEMA support, and a hazards mitigation plan is another planning document that it's some departments, like when I was in the town of Fairhaven, I got funding to do a hazard mitigation plan and I got funding to do a master plan at the same time. I was extremely busy for about 15 to 16 months. And they dovetailed and overlapped. Some areas did, and but a true hazards mitigation plan looks at all of the different hazards, and any of these plans have big civic engagement, and I believe, and I know that the development services, that it's not, our hazards mitigation plan is not being run through my department, it's being run through development services. And I think the engineering department is taking more of the lead on it, and it's done regionally, not just townwide. And they look at all, And my experience with those is they look at all hazards, whether it be, earthquakes, flooding, fires, tsunamis. Some things don't apply to us. A lot of fires and hazards don't. Earthquakes is a even though we've had one, is a low minor hazard. My my experience in dealing with the hazards mitigation plan in Fairhaven and in Fall River and actually in Taunton, a lot of it is a lot of the action items and things that come out of it are really flooding. And the 100-year storm, if you look at the FEMA talks about, there's a 10-year storm and a 20-year and a 50 and a 100-year storm. Well, we get 100-year storms a lot more often than we used to. It's just, look out, it's just been raining, for however many weeks now. And guess what? We're going to get 3 more days of rain coming up, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So that really looks at, those hazards. So there is a regional hazard mitigation plan. I don't know much about it. I have not really been involved with it. But and then there's also a, JC, are we an MVP community?
Yes, we are, Bill.
Okay.
We are involved with the Neponset River Watershed Association, have a coalition. We were both appointed to the board, the MVP board, so that we'll play more of an active role on those meetings that Mark has been holding, mainly with Craig, Larry, and
Right.
folks, from the consultant, the Kleinfeld group. But yeah, you're absolutely right on target. You're doing a great job, man. We're all about mostly flooding is
Right.
the main focus of our MVP plan
And
out.
I don't want to use, JC, I got to not use an acronym that they don't know. MVP is Municipal Vulnerable Preparedness. It is an initiative through the state. And MVP has, and it's done through, and it's funded through FEMA, through MEMA, to look at vulnerabilities, and it really dovetails into a hazards mitigation plan. So one of the things I would recommend is you need to look at where we are and get involved with the hazard mitigation, the regional thing. And JC, obviously, he knows more about it than I do. I'm just trying to keep my head above water with the development review and all the other things. And there's things in the chat that he's putting in there.
Excellent.
Okay,
So
great.
Rachel, go ahead now. Go ahead, Rachel.
Okay. Yeah, they're the people who just did the flood engagement things. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was just looking up. I found the master plan, and I found the link to the flood hazard. I could not find on the Stoughton website the regional mitigation or a link to the regional mitigation plan. I was just looking very quickly at the master plan, and it said a lot of things about the master plan was talking about different updates that they were going to make, because the phase 1 was vision and existing condition support, and the second one
What's the implementation?
so the assessment, recommendations, and implementation, and so this was in 2015. I wanted to know how much progress had been made on this. Are there any implementations that were approved but fell through the cracks, especially because of COVID? A lot of things have kind of fallen through, and I wanted to know if we know if anything has been updated since 2015.
Okay, we have not updated either one of the plans. So
Well, no, it's not. Have you updated the plans? Is my question. It is what
Have we
has been
implemented
implemented from the plans.
yes, we have. We've implemented a ton of things. I am in the process of working with our town engineers and other stakeholders in the town in preparing. We've been working on I have a spreadsheet that identifies all the goals. And some of, I mean, there's hundreds of them. And some of
Would
them
it
are,
be possible for us to get a copy of the spreadsheet? Or
well,
is that?
I have not finished it yet. I've taken the goals, created a spreadsheet, and then we are starting to identify what we've done. A lot of the transportation things we've done, some things are ongoing. If you look at a lot of the things, in the master plan, they're just ongoing, you know, looking at, when you're doing your budget and, capital improvement plans and ongoing budget for those sorts of things. So a lot of it's ongoing that we have implemented and doing. We are working on it to look at as time permits, and going to be presenting sections to the select board. So I can share that once we get that.
I would love to have that, because that would help us know what in our recommendations for writing our report, that would be really essential.
James, you have a question?
I'm aware that we're on track with our master plan with regard to many projects. Foremost, the Park Street sewer extension, which is sewering our Campanelli Industrial Park, and it's opening up a lot of opportunity along Park Street, along Route 27, property that's always been very difficult to speak of. It's making major strides in making improvements to provide sewer availability to homes on failed septic systems and in areas where there is unsuitable soil with high groundwater tables. That's one thing to think of. I know there's a lot of other projects a lot of irons in the fire on target with the master plan. We're talking about improvements along 138 in northern portion of 138 that will begin in the town of Canton, extending all the way to Central Street, one of the most dangerous intersections in the state. There's also ongoing improvements along Central Street between the Doss School, Brook Street. All along those areas, improvements are being made. There's a sewer extension project that's on the table. They're looking for grants. That's going to be between Atkinson Avenue extension and Kelsey Drive. So there's a lot, and they're making incredible strides, and from what I can see, in improving the infrastructure of the community that is the best interest of environmental protection and a better standard of living to speak of. I just wanted to point that out to folks, but yeah, there's been a lot of things that are being done.
Excellent.
And
We're on target with the master plan, but I don't have a real working knowledge of it. It's not really my professional obligation, but I can see that we are doing very well and run on the right track.
Yeah, one of the things I can say in my 25-year career, I've had worked in communities where the master plan sat on the shelf, and this is one of the few communities that I've worked in that references it and uses it and looks at implementing it. And as we're getting into, working on getting the, identifying what we've done, where we are, and those sorts of things. I've been very impressed with the amount of stuff that we've actually gotten done. So.
That's great. Aisha, you have a question?
Yes, it's just a follow-up from what JC just said, because I did actually see them putting those sewer pipe all through Park Street, all the way to Pleasant Street. They were putting all those stuff in. My question is, even after they did that project, I think it started like some years back, some houses are still not able to access those sewer. What is it going to take? How long is this project going to take until those houses are able to access those sewer?
I haven't answered that question. It has to do with the installation of a pump station on Schumann Drive.
Right.
Until that's completed, that is the last phase of the project before that sewer will be online and folks will be able to make those town sewer connections right now that utilize that pump station.
What
There are two pump stations.
It's on Schumann. It's in the industrial park. As you can imagine, a pump station is a very detailed, very highly specialized piece of equipment, and it has been, due to COVID and chain supply, it has been extremely delayed. Everything is in and it's being tested, and we have the sewer pipes in. The only connections that have been made are what can be connected through gravity that do not rely on the sewer. That pump station is hopefully going to be going online very soon.
That's correct.
I had a question, which, and again, all this has been very informative. I truly appreciate it, which directly relates to the work that we're undertaking with trying to have drafted a climate action plan, a actionable climate action plan. So there's been some misunderstanding amongst certain elements of the public, and including somebody who testified in front of one of the committees that, quote, all that information, like the town has a climate action plan, all that information is already there at town hall. My understanding is that the master plan as it exists, and obviously will be updated, does not have what I would call the core elements of a climate action plan, being a plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions generated by the town.
Yeah, I've been asked by certain people, and I think my name was probably even used by somebody also. Anyone from the public or anyone from the finance committee can ask. There are, my understanding, what I have the information I provided is that there are certain elements of your climate action plan, such as the MVP hazards mitigation. There are certain documents out there that look at addressing some of those elements.
Yes.
And that any climate action plan or anything that you as a committee look at doing should look at taking as, and one of the things that has been discussed is taking some of the existing information and then supplementing that and enhancing it with the information that's not there with a consultant. And I know, Molly, we've met, on the, what you're hunting for, and my recommendation, and I believe Mark's was, and everyone else's, is that talk to, and I think we gave you several consultants that we thought would be helpful, and say, okay, well, we have this MVP, we have this hazard mitigation, we're doing this stormwater plan. What elements of those can be incorporated, and then what is needed to finish out the climate action plan? So some of the town's climate action plan would not need to start from fresh. There are certain elements that would give you a little bit of a head start. And I think you really needed and I think the misinformation is if you had, and I don't know if you got it, is discussing with the consultants, what's the scope of services to take the MVP, the hazard, and the stormwater, and then take those three elements and then supplement with the other elements that are needed, and what is that scope of service and what does that cost?
Right, and
I don't know what that is.
Right, and definitely we're aware of I think it's the multi-town municipal vulnerability preparedness plan. We saw a draft of that came out that certainly has some very specific things with respect to action steps for flooding. But I just want to hone in and again on the other part of a climate action plan is not just being prepared and resilient for extreme weather events such as flooding. It's actually reducing your greenhouse gas emissions through your buildings, transportation, et cetera, use of open space in a productive way. So I just want to verify, are you aware of any plan in the town? Again, we do have the town energy manager, and she's working on building energy conservation projects for the buildings. And we know that's been going on for a few years. But are you aware of any sort of master plan that talks about how the town as a whole can have, steps to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions.
No, and the people that came and talked to me, they had those elements, and I said, I don't know of anything that does, these three things, and that the existing plans, are a start to finishing the thing. But people have their own, everyone has their own opinion on it, so, I just think that if you have, it would have been beneficial to have an in-depth conversation with one of the consultants that we recommended and says, okay, we have this, and this. How far, that does what for us, and then what else needs to be done, and here is a scope, and be very specific.
Right.
So like,
And that's how you support a article for funding to fill in the gaps.
so if I can use a metaphor, it's like or a simile, it's like we have a cow, and people are like, but you have a cow, why do you need to build an ice cream parlor? And what we want is an ice cream parlor. And well, you have a cow that provides milk, that's the thing for the ice cream. We don't have all the steps for the ice cream parlor yet.
I think you have a handful of elements that I don't, and I guess the thing is, I don't believe you're starting at zero.
Right.
But I don't believe you're at 75% either. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I think that the misconception or what's out there for what I hear is that that you just have to compile everything we have. And I'm like, well, there's working on energy efficiency, and we're doing stuff with flooding, and we're doing stuff with hazards, but nothing with reducing greenhouse emissions. I don't know all the elements.
Well, solid waste is another portion of a climate action plan. Addressing your solid waste issues, and
obviously, and I've seen and robust recycling programs,
yeah,
and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think that having had, if you had the opportunity to have a professional look at what we had and what's needed, then you would have much more a detailed scope and a potential estimated cost. And I believe that is the issue that some people are having is that they don't see a detailed scope.
All right. Well, we do have some
based on what we have. You base a scope based on trying to utilize some of the elements that we have.
Right.
I'm not going to get into that. That's just my 5,000 foot view of being questioned about certain things. And obviously, however, everything is questioned and answered. I've provided that. Here are the things that we have, and then the other things that I said I don't know. I don't think we have.
Okay. Now we just wanted us to understand it better, and everybody in the committee to understand that better. Obviously, James is in the best position to know what studies are in the works or have been done as far as resilience and things of that nature. But I think we're trying to keep our eye on the broad mission, which is actually to have a town that has is moving towards net zero as far as emissions, and that is complex. That is a multi-step project and undertaking. And so it's helpful for us to know what the master plan does, and it sounds like the master plan, I think, the way you described it is helpful to understand. It's like the 5,000 foot view, right, of the town, and
the 10,000 foot
the 10,000 foot view, even better, of the town. And yes, and also, quite frankly, some of these things can dovetail, right, and can touch upon each other. But I think our perspective is that it's helpful to have one plan that just focuses on these goals for the town, and certainly, yes, it can dovetail with other plans that the town has as well.
Yeah, I think my understanding is some of the issue that's come up is regarding your article and the funding. And I think that you may want to, you have time between now and then to talk with one of the, look at any of the consultants that do these climate action plans and call them up and say, okay, I've got town meeting, we put this article in for XYZ dollars. Was it based on any estimate? And if it's not, if your article, like whenever I do an article for a master plan, I'm going to say, okay, I've talked to these two consultants, they've taken a look, and the scope of service to do the update, the 10-year, the mid-year, 10-year, the midway update is going to be A, B, C, D, E, and this is the cost. And versus, if we waited 20 years and then we basically are redoing everything. And so what I think would be beneficial for you is, and I know we talked months ago about this, is get with a consultant and that do these, and you can look at any of the climate action plans that, whatever consultants, the Horsley Wittens of the world and whatnot, and say, okay, well, we have this study, this study, this study, let's say there's 7 elements to a climate action plan. We might have 3 of our plans might address, 3 out of the 7 elements, and they just need to synthesize that versus reinventing the wheel. And
Yeah.
and concentrate on 4, 5, 6, and 7, and versus 1, 2, and 3. That, I believe, is what I hear, and I think that you have to look at articulating would be my recommendation.
That's really good advice, actually. I really appreciate it, and I think again, we can go back to we have some scope of services, and some are more detailed than the other. But maybe further conversations and analysis of again what we already have underway, and James can help educate me, make sure I don't miss any of the existing plans. But I think that's a great idea. That's very helpful. And again, yeah, because we want to make sure that people understand what's rather complex, and what the reason is for the dollar figure in the article, and how we got there, and how this would work if we do get the article funded, and where would it get us that we're not already, which I think maybe. I would say, if any time you go and ask for a substantial amount of money, you should assume that it's an uphill battle, and that you really have to justify it, unless it's a playground. So, which is the one exception to the rule. Michael, you haven't had a chance to talk yet. You probably have more expertise in this to begin with because you're on Conservation Commission, but do you have any questions or thoughts about?
No, I'm sorry I missed the first part, but hopefully I'll be able to review it online if we recorded. Yeah, this is being recorded, right?
Yes.
No, I think that what I heard, I did take a few notes, was extremely useful.
Yes.
Not a surprise, but reassuring in its own right. Let me put it that way. I don't feel that we're not on the right track in asking for what we're asking, and I think that without you getting too mixed up in this, you provided a good overview of what's at stake, and our best approach going forward. So thank you.
Yeah.
Just a quick question, Michael, are you starting taking notes now? Or?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm taking some notes too. So Rachel, if you could take notes, and I'll take notes.
I took down a few very key lines that I want to keep in my head, but if somebody else can finish up for tonight, I got a really bad cold on top of
I'm sorry.
everything else. If somebody else can just finish up tonight.
Yeah, I've been doing the notes right now.
Okay.
But
Okay. All right. Any other questions for our special guest, Bill Roth?
special guest star.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your time, Bill. We really appreciate it. Very educational, very helpful. I'm sure we will be in touch from time to time as we continue on our mission. So if everybody is all set, we will say farewell and have a good evening and enjoy the game tonight.
I go to bed by 9 o'clock. The game starts. The game starts after I'm in bed.
That is
But-
that is the problem. It starts way too late.
It is, but I'm in 2 pools.
Okay.
I'm in first place in both pools. JC is out of the pool, one of the pools that I'm in.
Yeah.
All I need to do, I need one thing. I just need Purdue to win. Everyone else has picked Connecticut. So if Purdue wins, I win.
Okay.
If not, it's arm wrestling for the other folks. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
Thank you, Bill.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Outstanding.
All right. So
I think Bill gave us a good. He put us in the right direction as to what needs to be done to prepare for town meeting.
yep.
I mean, he told us everything that we really needed to know in order to succeed and put us on the right track.
That's excellent. No, that's I appreciate your suggestion that we invite him. I appreciate him spending his time with us. And also, so all right. So if you want to move on to, we've took items out of order since you weren't here, Michael. So the next item would be review of the minutes, which is not 2 meetings. I think we're just going back and reviewing the minutes again, going back to the February 26th meeting because we had started to talk about it, and then a member had to leave, so we never finished our comments on those minutes. I don't know if you have them in front of you now, Michael, or not.
Sorry, no, just let me know what needs fixing.
Yeah, I wanted to revisit the issue because I think we already told you just about a couple little minor changes or typos. I did want to revisit the issue of the final page of the minutes with the public comment section, and having attended a number of meetings involving statements and representations with respect to the work of the committee and what the committee has been deliberating about and discussing. Here's what I would like to do, and I am now bringing a clipboard for people who want to present a public comment to sign up. Want to make sure they're Stoughton residents and everything. So other than identifying the person who's making the public comments, given that some of these statements are actually false, and also I feel like if we start trying to summarize what some people said on public comment, but we don't maybe record it every time, or they could complain about how we characterized or summarized it, I think it's fine to just say, public comment was made by so-and-so, period, end of story. That way we're treating everybody the same, every public comment the same, and thankfully, quite frankly, very happy about SMAC if people want to go back and check what that person said. But I don't like the idea of what we, I don't want to repeat a false rumor. Or people be dissatisfied with how we talked about what they said. I mean, obviously these minutes are just a summary of what happens, or the most material things that happens. We don't quote anybody word for word, like we're not court reporters here. So that was my sense, is that I would just want to say, public comment was made by 2 individuals.
How do other committees and commissions handle that?
I don't remember from school committee that we would summarize statements that were made on public comment, and we haven't in the past. I mean, we've had public comments both virtual and in person in the past, and I think you said you thought you may have put it in the meeting minutes once before, but I just feel like it's, given, I just don't think it's going to be a good practice. It's going to, especially given that it's not so much, look, I'm happy to be advised of what people are thinking. I'm happy for people to come to the meetings and to make public comment and to raise questions about, I'm concerned about this, I'm concerned about that, please take into account this. I mean, just like with our public engagement, which we luckily had some good community response when we had our public engagement at the library.
No problem, I can eliminate it.
That's my feeling, but there's other people sitting here. If you have a strong feeling, it's whatever the majority of the people feel like as far as the minutes.
Maybe it could be rephrased just rephrased in a sense, so we really know what it means and be vague about it. But point it out. know what I'm saying?
You mean rephrase what the person said at public comment?
Yeah.
I
It's that, what do you think?
I think I'm more nervous about that than even trying to quote them directly.
Yeah, I would not want to rephrase someone just.
Do you want to go over the
Stick to
phrase,
it,
do you want to go over the paragraph now and decide what's wrong with it?
No, I'd rather, to be honest, let's just cut it. It'll make my life easier if we go that route.
Yeah,
And if it's not important,
nothing is worth, if something is worth preserving, we'd probably want to have that person come to the meeting.
Yeah, and whatever was said was hearsay anyway.
Yeah.
The word on the street doesn't mean anything. It's hearsay. That doesn't matter. Who knows?
All right, so that's my sense for finalizing this with, so if we're gonna change the public, just wanna clarify, we would perhaps change the end of this minutes to just say, you know, two individuals,
and this
made,
is the February.
We're back on-
February 26th?
February 26th, right.
Okay.
So again, the proposed,
Name the individuals, or, so I can summarize it correctly. Are we naming the individuals or saying person X made a public comment instead of repeating someone word for word or paraphrasing their comments?
we know one of the individuals, but I don't know the name of the other one.
Okay.
Just say someone gave public testimony, whatever.
All right, okay. So with that amendment, that the public comment section will now be reduced to saying, you know, two individuals made public comments. Does anybody want to make a motion again? And we did talk about some prior edits to this, some prior, like there was a typo on 200,000 on the first page was missing a zero, things of that nature. Any other thoughts or comments on the minutes? Or do one want to have a motion?
Oh, and the motion to adjourn seconded has an N.
Okay, at the very end.
That's just a spelling error at
Yes,
the very last.
right, that's just a typo. All right, so with those edits, anybody want to make a motion concerning the February 26, 2024 minutes? Looking for a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Any second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor of adopting the minutes with the edits discussed at our prior meeting and discussed today as well? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any opposed? Okay, so we are taking care of those minutes, and that is terrific. We will have those, and I am, when minutes are finished, I'm trying to post them so that we're current with the town. All right, so the next item is to, actually, I guess I have two things. The next item is the SMAC appearance, which is May 11th. In the morning, I believe it's at 11 a.m. With Joseph Feaster, who has done a lot of work on SMAC. And I honestly don't think we have to prepare for this. I think if we could have 2, 3, or 4 people who would be able to attend, and I know that's a few weeks away, so I'm not asking for a definitive, but if you just put that on your potential calendar, and then we'll circle back. I would hope by next meeting would say, okay, we definitely having, you know, these 2, 3, or 4 people attend to speak with Mr. Feaster. I just think I think it's a great opportunity to really answer questions back and forth. You know, why did we form this committee? You know, what are our objectives and goals? What are our concerns? What do we hope, what do we see in other climate action plans, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, and what have we been doing? You know, what have we been doing the last several months? So that would be terrific if a couple of other people are able to. I think Laura's going to try to come, and I will come, but if a couple of other people, or at least one other person. Rachel can come?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And Aisha, what are your thoughts?
I'm good.
Okay, all right. And again, we can confirm by next meeting. The other thing, which is not on the agenda, but just I would say informational. I think we've probably all seen signs around the town about the April 27th Clean Up Stoughton Day. I am going to try to sign up for that as an individual. I'm trying to work on recruiting another person, and if anybody thinks they want to have the fun of picking up trash on April 20th, which hopefully is not going to be a rainy day with all the rain, that would make it not so much fun. But I think it's a nice town event. I think it's obviously showing concern for the environment. So anybody could just let me know. I'd say, and you need to sign up in the next, week to 10 days. Just let me know if they want to be on it. They put you on teams. I thought I could just like sign up and do my neighborhood, but they're going to put you on a team and tell you where to go. So anybody who might be available to do that, or quite frankly, if they have their children who would want to do it, and I maybe you sign up with your kid and get your child a T-shirt and everything like that. I'm going to do my best not to get a T-shirt, but I will like to participate. So, and I think that's a good thing the town is doing. So that's great. All right, discussions with
Molly.
Yes.
Excuse me, Molly, but has anyone thought about extending an invitation to the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts?
The local Girl
Because,
Scout team is,
someone can coordinate with them, perhaps. In the past, they picked up tires and brought them to hazardous waste collection days, things like that. And,
I know my daughter's Girl Scout troop is going to be doing something.
So-
I'm assuming that they arrange that with all of the Girl Scout troops in town, but I can ask.
Yeah, we need to find out all the active troops in town, and then somebody reach out to them. And I'm sure they want to be involved, and they might even,
I
we should
think
just
they
give them
are
that
involved, but
opportunity.
I can definitely reach out to the Girl Scouts. I know who to talk to for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and I think so. Matt at the rec department is in charge. So I think if somebody wants to, maybe James, do you want to shoot Matt an email and say has he reached out to the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts? I think that's a great activity for them. So but he's coordinating that. All right.
Another thing is, I know the Conservation Commission is interested, and last meeting, they asked if anybody was approached on it, but, I think that they would also be very much interested in supporting this, because there's resources, and the commission would, I think, love to be involved with this.
Right. I think that it's been pretty well publicized. I mean, I at least in the last couple of weeks, and there's signs in the center of town now. So hopefully the schools, with the older kids, they're going to get a good, dedicated turnout, because I think we can make a difference. And I also think it will be interesting to see. I suggested to Matt and to Paul Gifuda, DPW. I'd love to see like a monkey survey for the participants, to report back what are they seeing, like what trash are they seeing, what's most prevalent, what's plastic, what's cans, et cetera. But I know there's plenty of trash all over the town, unfortunately. See them whenever you walk around.
I think it'd go a long way, Molly, if you called the chairman of the Conservation Commission and just spoke with him about it and asked him if he was interested or if he had anything to offer. I think it would go a very long way, because there's connections with C.W. Welch, who has, a relationship with scouts to speak of, and sportsmen as well care about the environment. They're some of the most knowledgeable environmentalists I know. So I think there's some good resources there to get some other clubs in the town involved to help us organize more and to clean up some areas. And a lot of these folks might even know where some of these dumping sites are that are off the beaten path.
All right. No, that's fine. I can reach out. It's still Jerry, right? Who's the chair? Michael?
Sure.
Yeah, I can reach out to Jerry McDonald and mention that and see what if they know about it and what they're doing and what they can do to promote it and promote participation, because we could certainly use a lot of participation all over town.
Thank you, Molly. I think that.
All right. Well, good. Sounds like there's enthusiasm for cleanup days, so that's good. All right. Let's just hope it doesn't rain. Number 5, discussions with other towns. I am circling back with Tom Birmingham in Canton. We have a tentative discussion on Friday. I'd like to hear what's going on in their town, what they're doing, and if he's willing, I might like to invite him to a hybrid meeting, just so everybody can hear, how they're going about things in Canton and what type of progress they're making. And they do have a grant, so I'm curious on how that is helping them, that they're having the grant, and what type of progress they're making. So that's my thought there. And quite frankly, if anybody wants to call up any of the sustainability coordinators in any of the other towns and just gather information about their climate action plan or about what their town is doing, I think that's, we can't have too much information. It's I'm sure they would be very supportive of where we are and what we're trying to accomplish in my town. So anybody who reads through some of those climate action plan and finds their ideas interesting, I think it would be helpful to talk to those towns as well. So feel free, anybody, to reach out and have some discussion or have some interaction. And then if we're ready to go to number 6, which is DEP representative. So along the lines of another very special guest, who I haven't asked her yet, but I have a feeling she's going to be very willing to come. So we have had reach out, and I can't remember where I first met her, but there's a DEP employee, Missy Hollenbeck, who is in charge of our region. She's actually going to come to the Earth Day event and speak there. And she has reached out to, I think, other people in town. I think she could give us some really accurate data concerning how Stoughton looks as far as certain metrics, including, I know, recycling and things of that nature. I think she would have ideas, both information and data to share with us and ideas to share with us as to things we might want to incorporate into our climate action plan. So I think she would be, willing to come, probably virtually, but whatever works best for her. So I can reach out to her, whether it's the next meeting or a meeting later in the spring. But I think she could, her involvement could be very helpful to us and very enlightening. So I think I like the idea of people coming and talking to us. I thought having Bill Roth was very, very helpful. And I think we've talked before about having somebody from the Department of our Public Health department talk with us as well. So that's on the list to work on that. Other business that can't be anticipated. I can't think of any other last minute updates to talk about. But I did want to talk about scheduling meetings. So we're all good, or we should be good with our April 22nd meeting. And again, hopefully, perhaps we'll have our DEP representative or another representative to speak to us at that time. May is going to be a very fun month. So May is town meeting month, and it starts on Monday. It's going to be Mondays and Wednesdays starting on Monday, May 6th. There are multiple articles of interest. And there's also a very big article involving building the new South School, which I will tell you, for those who aren't town meeting members, that is designed in a very, very sustainable way. That is seems to be at the forefront, cutting edge with the way you want to build buildings for bearing in mind climate change and sustainability. So that's very exciting, and that will be a very interesting presentation. So that being said, we can talk about it next meeting, but I think we're going to skip at least one Monday meeting, and we might have missed 2 Monday meetings. So the question is whether we could just squeeze in perhaps a Tuesday meeting, which we could just do all virtual, or whether we have how many town meeting. We have 3 town meeting members on the committee. I would be reluctant to skip the whole month, but let's maybe play it by ear and think about that in April. Going to the town meetings is very, very, very lengthy and very very draining. On the other hand, we don't want to lose our momentum. But so let's discuss that next time, whether we'll try to squeeze in like a Tuesday virtual meeting just to have one meeting in May, and then obviously when we're going to get to a Memorial Day weekend too at the end of the month, so it's going to get complicated. But I want to feel like we're moving as fast as we can, as best we can, and trying to keep the momentum going.
Are we meeting again before April 20th, and what are we doing for April 20th?
Oh, so no, we won't be meeting again before, I think our next meeting is, I'm just pulling out my old-fashioned calendar here. I think our next meeting is the 22nd. So April 20th, there is an event at the library, which I sent you flyers. That's being presented by the Energy and Sustainability Committee. We would hope everybody can publicize that as much as possible. It's focusing on sustainable landscaping and gardening. And actually, the woman from DEP will be there speaking. We have a landscape architect speaking. So this just isn't a bunch of committee members standing up there and speaking. I'm very happy to say we will have a professional landscape architect presenting her views, and she's a member of the Ecological Landscape Alliance, which looks like a really interesting organization. And I think people will learn a lot, quite frankly, about you could either make climate change a lot worse, and or you can actually make things better by how you take care of your property. James.
I think we should, is it Holly who you're referring to? Who will be at the, what is her name?
Missy Hollenbach, I believe, if I have it
Missy
right.
Hollenbach.
Missy, yes.
Maybe between now and then, we should try to get some information from her concerning the use of time release or slow release fertilizers, which are the type of fertilizers that should be used in environmentally sensitive areas, as opposed to highly soluble petrochemical fertilizers. That's something that folks don't know much about, and if we could learn more about that, it would be helpful to our surface water resources and our drinking supplies and wildlife habitat. I think that's a problem with respect to water pollution, especially phosphorus in our surface water supplies in the town of Stoughton. That it degrades our water quality and creates algal blooms. That would be a good question for her, and perhaps she could lead us all in the right direction, and we could publicize that at this event.
That's great. I have her email. I can ask her to address that. I'm sure she'll be happy to address it. And I think, again, it's probably something you just go buy whatever they sell you at Home Depot and you put it on your lawn, and maybe you don't read the directions too carefully. And I agree that there's, obviously serious problems with what people might be putting on their lawn. So that's a great idea to have her speak to that.
Sure. And another thing is, you'd be surprised as how many folks put pet feces down catch basins, or they think that they're doing everybody a favor by disposing of their pet feces in catch basins, as opposed to picking it up. I mean, under the cloak of darkness, I'm aware of folks that do it in my own community. Things like that, we could speak about that in the public forum and try to educate the public so they know these things are bad for water quality.
And I will say, James, along those lines, having pets, it was literally a brochure from the town that explained what you're supposed. In other words, I have woods, so I thought it was okay to put it in the woods, and then I was like, no. You need to bag it and you need to put it away with your trash. So I did read the brochure from the town about the water quality, and hopefully people are reading those brochures, because it tells you things which you may not instinctively know or understand, and that's a big issue as well. So that's good. So James actually has agreed to be there. So James is going to be tabling with the brochures about the rain barrels and the compost bins, right? So that's great. Yeah. So a fun time will be had by all. No, we're really looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to hopefully again more community engagement on these issues, and so it looks like, some of us have our work cut out for us as far as being ready for town meeting, which is fine. And might actually touch base with you, James, as far as articulating what is, using the right terminology. And you're right, it is quite confusing. When people hear the words master plan, you might think, well, there's already a plan out there. And so I think it bears some explanation as to, what's in that plan and what we hope to have in our plan. And again, what's already in the works as far as the MVP plans and things of the hazard mitigation plans and things of that nature. So I'll be working on that.
Oh, absolutely. I thought of the name of some plans. I can post them. I'd be happy to do that.
If you send me just an email link of the plans, the other plans, the related plans, as they exist, that would be great. And then I'll
Sure.
take a look at those, and again, I'll try to be able to coherently discuss all this.
For some reason, they're not transmitting.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, there they are.
And the other thing I wanted to do, so the backup material is already settled for a town meeting, but I can add things. So there's an addendum, and I already have, in the addendum, I have the quotes from the 3 consultants. But I actually could add more to the virtual table. So I think I'm going to add just a couple more things that I also might want to just add, like a link to a couple of climate action plans, so people can, like, type it up, pull it up, even sitting there at town meeting, and spin through one, and perhaps have a better understanding of what they are. So that's on my to-do list as well, to add some to the virtual table so we can explain to town meeting what a climate action plan is. I think it helps to actually see one. All right.
Molly, I'm aware that someone from the Kleinfeld group would be happy to come to one of our meetings and talk to us about our climate action plan. So maybe it's possible we could have someone at our next meeting that we've spoken to from Horsley or Witten or the Kleinfelder group to help us pick up where Bill left off along the lines of moving forward with our action plan. In addition to that, help us prepare for a town meeting.
Okay.
Because they're willing to come to our meeting and speak. I mean, I did speak to someone at a conference from Kleinfeld group that would be willing to come.
Okay.
Be happy to follow up on it if you'd like me to.
Okay. Yeah, why don't we talk about that? Because I think that sounds like a good idea. Again, I think we can't be too educated on this, and also, again, trying to explain where we're coming from to the public. I think more information and more expertise is definitely better than not. So I think let's talk about that too, James, and I think that's a great idea. So if we could have them come and have maybe our rep from DEP come too, I think we could have a really great substantive meeting on April 22nd, and then we'll see what happens with May. All right. Anything else before, and if not, if anybody wants to make a motion to close the meeting?
Is there any public comment?
Oh yes, nobody is here, and as best I can tell, nobody is online. I don't see that anybody else has been trying to get in. And usually people could just come in anyways once I click it on. So I haven't. Thank you for reminding me, but there does not appear to be anybody for public comment tonight.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out.
Thank
Feel
you.
better, Michael, and appreciate
Thanks, Linda.
everybody.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.